Hello, friends. I'm Miss Amanda, and I'm so excited to be doing this virtual chapel lesson with all of you today. Do any of you wear glasses? I do. And when I take off my glasses, the world becomes really fuzzy. I can't really see the things around me, and everything starts to look different. I can't recognize things that I know what they are. That happens in life sometimes too. When something really good or really bad happens, everything looks different and we don't see things the same way. We're going to hear a story from the New Testament today that talks about two friends who loved Jesus very much. But when he was walking with them on a long journey, they didn't even recognize him. Before this story happened, Jesus had died. He was killed by people who didn't like him, and his friends were really sad. There was a man named Cleopas who was friends with Jesus and his disciples. He was walking to a place called Emmaus with a companion. Can you all say Emmaus? Great job. And that, friends, on this walk is where our story begins. Cleopas and his companion were talking about all the things that had happened with Jesus. They were very sad because Jesus had died. Why did Jesus have to die? They wondered. After a while, a stranger started to walk with them. The stranger looked familiar, but they didn't know why. Do you remember who the stranger is? That's right. It was Jesus. The stranger asked what Cleopas and his friend were talking about. Cleopas and his friend looked at each other. Where have you been? They said. How could you not know what had happened? They told the stranger about Jesus and how he was hung on a cross to die. They told the stranger about how they hoped that Jesus was the one that God had promised would save the world, but that he had died. And when his body disappeared from the tomb, they didn't know what to do now. Instead of Jesus' body being at the tomb where it was supposed to be, there was an angel. The angel had said that Jesus was alive, but how could that be? Stop being silly, the stranger said. How many times do you need to hear this? It was God's plan for Jesus to die and to become alive again to save the world. Cleopas and his friend were confused, and they had almost reached Emmaus. They invited the stranger to come over for dinner. During dinner, the stranger took bread and broke it, blessed it, and gave a piece to each of the people at the table. Suddenly, Cleopas and his friend knew this was Jesus. They had been walking with Jesus all along. Suddenly, Jesus disappeared. Cleopas and his friend got up, ran from the room, and told the disciples that Jesus is alive. God had kept his promise. We celebrate that Jesus is alive on Easter, and then we make choices in our life to follow Jesus or to not follow him. Every choice we make helps us to remember that Jesus rose from the dead to be with us. God promised to save us, and he did, using Jesus. What kinds of choices do you make to celebrate that Jesus is alive? That's something you could talk about with members of your family. Will you pray with me? You're going to repeat after me, okay? Let's fold our hands and we say, Dear God, thank you for sending your son Jesus. And thank you for keeping your promise. Help us to follow him. Amen.